Hey everyone, welcome back to CFO Unplugged. I'm lucky to today have my marketing guy, Nathan Webster, come onto the episode with me. He's being very vulnerable today. We did a financial reset with him a few months back. He's going to just share his experience through this reset that we worked through, and so I'm going to turn it over to you. Where do you want to start?
Oh my gosh. Everywhere when it comes to the results, how it impacted
Let's
my life.
let's step back. When we did the reset,
November 15th.
was it November 5th?
It's
It's been that long.
Yeah, it was
Oh my
a
gosh.
Saturday. It was right after.
Was it me pushing you to do the reset, or was it you asking for it?
No, you wasn't pushing me. It really started when we were talking and you mentioned something about you got approved for something financial, and I was like, who gets excited over this stuff? Like,
At that time, I was in the middle of buying a property.
yeah,
And that, because when you say approved for something, I go, oh yeah, that would have been, because at that
you were
time
happy with
I
your
closed on a
rates.
couple deals. Yeah.
I was just like, that is so boring. I don't want to hear details, but you started telling me more details. But then it was like, okay, God was like, you see, this is someone you can trust, because I've never been able to really trust people that tell me how I should spend, save, invest money. And
Why do you think that is?
it's a great question. It comes back to my childhood. We didn't discuss it at all. My parents both made great money, but they never shared their resources. They never talked about money. They never encouraged us to save or to spend. We were told not to spend our money all in one place. But other than that, you don't save your money, you don't invest your money. My dad was happy to retire early, but he never talked about what retirement looked like.
Yeah, did he retire early because he wanted to, or because he was almost forced into it?
So I think he was at the right time, right place. He worked for PGE. For those that don't know about PGE, they were Enron at one point in time. Enron had phenomenal, crazy, great stock. Turned out to be a sham. So he retired early on Enron stock, and it wiped his whole retirement out.
So in your household growing up, you just didn't talk about money.
No.
And I think that's very common for people to experience that it's even I know there are points where I've heard of folks that have struggled with, like, you don't ask about it either. It was
No.
It's a big no-no.
No. I mean, it was, you didn't look at my dad's wallet when you pulled it out. Yeah, big deal.
So how do you fast forward? How do you feel like that has impacted you in how you've treated money?
That's a loaded question, because I've always been good with money, been great with credit. I've always worked hard to maintain good credit.
How did you learn those tactics, or how did you know or think that those were important things to work on, if you didn't talk about money when you were growing up?
So I saw my mom struggle. So after my parents' divorce, I think I was in the 9th grade going into the 10th grade. And I remember my mom just not able to afford for my sister to go to college on her own. Tamara was able to go to college on her own. Vince, my dad, there was some family drama there. It didn't work out. So she did initially, after my mom took out a second mortgage on the home, she was able to go to Alcorn State University, which is a big deal. But I don't know what happened, but she came back, had a gap year in that regards. There were some other details, but all that said, she took a second mortgage on the home, and then she started to have trouble with it. And then I realized when she was going from one check cashing place to another check cashing place, I said, I don't want to be like that. And from there, I always I always worked hard. I've been working since I was 14. So I've always had money, but I never watched someone use money correctly, the way I would say correctly.
At that time, what do you mean by correctly?
So to finish, I guess, answering the other question, I learned just good habits, just making sure I kept money in the bank.
It's almost like you did the complete opposite, right? You
I
saw
did.
bad, not necessarily bad examples, just examples of how.
They were bad. You can say they were bad examples. It's not they were bad
Well,
examples.
I think they're just
They were doing their best.
the best that they could with the knowledge they had at that time. And if you, it's not like formal education teaches us how to manage money or how to
No.
make money.
No,
If
not at
anything,
all.
they're teaching us how to become factory workers.
Absolutely. So I just knew when I went into the Marine Corps, I knew that I had a good paying job, somewhat. I didn't have to worry about where I was going to live, sleep. You know, everybody was saying it's a good decision. I was always just scraping by because the military didn't pay much. I got into security forces. That forced me to get Dress Blues, which was an extra, oh my God, like $1,000 that I couldn't afford. I signed up for the GI Bill. That was another like basically chunk out of my check where I was living off of like $75 every 2 weeks. So it taught me how to just spend wisely. And I would go to Zales and I would look at the Timex watch and I was just like, oh, I want that, but I couldn't afford it. And I said, I'm going to get it on credit. Then I got credit. And I was like, no, I don't want to owe because that's what with my mom. And I didn't want that lifestyle, but I also didn't know. And then I fast forward to about 4 years ago when we got approved for a loan initially, but then when they looked at my records, they were like, we see that you have money, you see that you have great credit, but it was just the way we did our taxes as a business owner. Could have done it a different way.
Do you fall into that trap that a lot of business owners fall into? It's like, I'm going to spend everything I can. I'm going to write off everything that I can in my business so that I can pay as little as possible in taxes.
Basically, yeah. And I fell for that trap and I didn't learn till later that that's not going to work to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So I still have never bought a house, but I always had great credit. So to wrap it up in a little bow, when I got to that point, that discouraged me. So it's like, what's the point of having this high 700 score? I had some money in the bank. I didn't have a lot of cash flow, but what I learned from my mom is you just spend all the money in the bank. You don't what's the point of saving it when I just put it on credit, but I would, put it on credit, but I wouldn't max out my cards and I would pay it off. I would wait for a job and I would just work harder here, work harder there, not thinking at some point in time I was going to get tired and burnt out. And I didn't want that.
Okay, so fast forward to November 15th.
Oh, well, yeah. November 15th was, I'm a year out from a client that I went full-time with, and I thought I was going to be there, and I just killed my business, and I was rebuilding my pipeline. That took an enormous amount of time because with the new administration, nonprofits were like my main clientele. So when I went in from 24 to 25, I'm like, I'm going to have these clientele. I did not have that, but I still had some of my same expenses. But then I had the conference, and the conference, again, with the new administration, people didn't show up. We had just a lot of stuff going on, and basically I wasn't able to pay my bills.
Well, I think you told me at that time too, because you had shifted from business owner mindset to employee mindset to help grow that organization you were with. It was then having to shift back to this business owner mindset, and because of the timing of all of that, I think that was a delay. Part of, again, I think the struggles that you had when you were doing a conference that year, which was your fifth year?
It was the fifth year. And not to, to add more onto it, but just to, when I think in totality, I lost my mom in the end of November. At the time, my kids that were living with me, they were going through a lot of emotional, mental issues to where it was just to where I was breaking, but I was trying to not break. And at that time, from not being late on bills, I started to get late on bills. I wasn't able to pay the basics.
Well, and when you're dealing with emotional turmoil, you've got it's a gal on my team. She says this all the time. If you're struggling with, it's hard to work through life if you're struggling on the personal and the business side.
Yeah.
And if you're, or personal, whether you work for somebody else or you work for yourself, but if you are struggling at home and you're struggling at work, it is easy to get to that. And so in this case, you're struggling at home, you're struggling in the business, you're turning around and you're having to rebuild your business because when you went, if I recall right, went full time, like you said, just let your business kind of go to the wayside.
Right. So it was a reset in my life, but the reset was not intentional, as in I prompted it myself. It was everything falling apart at once. So I said, okay, God, I'm not going to fight it anymore. Let me just move forward and see what you got for me, because this sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going through all that and you're having financial struggles.
Oh.
And if you have no one to look to or that you could look up to or that could help you get out of that, it is a struggle, and I saw it too. We chatted a little bit about it, but so on that day I think we just whipped out. How did I should remember?
You
I'm
should
terrible.
remember.
I
See,
should,
this is
but
where
I don't. I just let's help you and move on, right?
Oh my God,
yeah.
it was painful.
Yeah, it's that moment where okay, so I do recall we're sitting in the conference room.
Well, back up, because
oh no, it was before that. That was when we actually sat down and did it.
Because we were talking about it, but I was like, okay, Crystal, I'm going to let you do this damage to me, and I'm not looking forward to it.
It's a vulnerable to sit down and share, especially to sit down and share with someone your financial situation, whether you're doing well or you're not doing well. It's a very uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for people because we're not taught to talk about money. At least from my generation, and the generations before us,
not at all.
You don't talk about those things. This is where I think it's important for us to talk about stuff, and part of why I'm doing this podcast and appreciating people like you and John, who's come on so far, to do a reset, is because we need to show people that no matter where you're at, we have to have safe spaces for us to be able to go and talk to people about that financial side, right? Because it is a common theme that I find is people think they should be farther than where they're at, or they're embarrassed because of where they're at, or they have no direction because, again, in your case, it's not like you had a parent that would help you in that case.
I would also say that probably one of the things that people don't ever think about, maybe in the back of the head, but I didn't think it was going to happen to me. As I was killing my business, I also told my dean, my boss, I don't want to teach any more courses. Even though it's not very much, as an adjunct, it still provided income for me to teach either 5 weeks at a time or 15 weeks at a time. I said, no, I'm done with it because I don't need them anymore. My God. So that's the other part.
If I recall right, you sent me a text, yes?
Yeah.
I think that's how you originally reached out and said you were ready to do it.
Yes, because I think so. You've been on the podcast a couple of times. We talked about, as we already did your website, we were working on your marketing strategy and getting a little bit more specific with the tactics, and the financial reset was coming up. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm in the back of my head, not wanting to commit, but I'm needing to commit because everything was crumbling around me. I'm like, after the conference, I was like, okay, if this is going to be the time to do it, now is the time. That's when I reached out. And then you said, well, let's clear out a Saturday. It's going to take 4 hours. We were here for 8 hours. Oh my God, painful. So that's what it was.
But you stuck through it. It was, I could tell, very uncomfortable for you to go through it. There were moments where I saw the glazed eye because I recognized that it is intense where going through all of where your income is coming from.
Yeah.
Going through where all of your expenses are at, what debt you had, like just going through that process. But as we were going through that process, tell me how you were feeling through it.
It was a love-hate, bittersweet. It was undressing, to undress as in let go a lot of drama, a lot of dead weight. And that was probably the biggest thing for me, was that I needed to let go of what was not going to be. And it's funny because you think, how did I feel at that time? I can tell you, it was embarrassing. It was hard. I was upset. I was humiliated. But at the same time, on the other side, I was like, no, you need to do this. This is good. This is healthy. I'm glad to get it out. And then when I saw the big number, I'm like, oh, that's what I owe? Hot damn. But okay, now I'm a starting point. Now I feel good. But again, it was me processing all those feelings all at once. And you provided that safe space for me just to be vulnerable and let go. But at the same time, I was mad too, that I'm like, how did I let myself get to this point? So it was needed, and I'm glad I did it. I ain't gonna lie, I wish I would have done it sooner, but I also didn't know that you could do that.
When I think we talked about it because I had just done it with someone else, and I was sharing that win with you. Because when we meet, we talk about our wins.
Oh yeah.
At that time, we were talking about our wins.
I think were you talking about John at that time?
No, this is someone else on my personal. That asked for from a personal perspective.
Okay.
And because again, a financial reset is not just for a business; it's for a personal side. It goes either way. It's personal and business.
And it wasn't all about debt either, because that's what encouraged me when you were getting those properties and you were like, I got this rate. Just like, who cares? But she was geeking out on it. I'm like,
I was geeking out. I do geek out on numbers.
I was happy for you.
Yeah.
But in the back of my head, I'm like,
well, and I think that's what you said to me at the time, too. You're like, how do you get enjoyment out of this? Like, you're geeking out over numbers. And it's the same experience I just had as we were working on the landing page for the financial reset. And I'm over here like, it's funny when we start seeing people in their elements, because I got to see your expertise on, like, building out websites. It's like, oh, we could just slap a website together. And then I go in there and you're explaining to me the HTML. And I'm like... right over my head. Like, I mean, I get it, but it's for you, it's just natural, right? You made it seem easy, and I'm staring at the screen like, how do I add this next section in, right? So I get it. I think this goes back to recognizing that it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, absolutely. And to that, I think it's putting yourself in the position to be vulnerable. It all started with you sharing something that you probably would have not shared, but because you were growing, and again, we were talking about your strategy to tactic and how you wanted to serve these types of people. I was like, I wonder if I'm one of those types of people, her client avatar. And I was like, I am, but now it's like, do I want to be honest and share?
Well, yeah, it's tough too.
It's hard.
It's tough. It can be tough, but would you say it's also rewarding?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. I think this is a good start of like what kind of drove you into agreeing to a financial reset.
Yeah.
And so let's go in our next episode, let's talk about the aftermath.
Okay. Just
right.
do it.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.